Introduction: The Hidden Truth About Love. Imagine standing in front of a mirror, but instead of seeing your reflection, you see every relationship you've ever had, each one revealing a piece of you that's been hidden, ignored, or misunderstood. Today, we're diving into a profound truth inspired by Carl Jung's wisdom: the love you seek isn't found in someone else, it's already within you, waiting to be unlocked. This isn't about self-help clichés or endless affirmations. It's about a raw, transformative journey to understand yourself so deeply that love becomes not just something you feel, but something you are. By the end of this video, you'll have a practical roadmap to shift how you connect with yourself and others, breaking free from patterns that keep you stuck. Let's uncover the secret that changes everything. Relationships are like a cosmic game of mirrors, reflecting back the parts of ourselves we've yet to fully embrace. Carl Jung taught us that the people who enter our lives, whether they spark joy, frustration, or heartbreak, are not random. They're messengers, showing us the unhealed wounds, suppressed desires, or untapped potential within us. When someone triggers a strong emotion, it's not just about them, it's a signal pointing to something unresolved in you. Think about the last time someone made your heart race or your blood boil. Maybe it was a partner who seemed distant, leaving you feeling abandoned, or a friend whose arrogance grated on your nerves. These moments aren't accidents, they're invitations to look inward. Jung called this the shadow, the parts of ourselves we deny, repress, or haven't yet discovered. The shadow isn't just our flaws, it's also our hidden strengths, like creativity or courage, that we've buried out of fear or shame. Let's break this down with a personal lens. I've noticed in my own life how I used to be drawn to people who seemed effortlessly confident, almost to a fault. It wasn't just admiration, it was a clue that I was suppressing my own confidence, afraid of being seen as too much. On the flip side, I'd get irritated by people who seemed overly needy, only to realize I was dodging my own need for connection, projecting it onto them instead. This is the relational mirror at work. Attraction and repulsion are two sides of the same coin, both pointing to what's unresolved within us. The key here isn't blaming yourself or others, it's curiosity. When you feel a strong reaction, ask, what is this person showing me about myself? If you admire someone's spontaneity, maybe you're craving more freedom in your life. If you're annoyed by someone's arrogance, could it be that you're wrestling with your own sense of pride? This isn't about fixing yourself to be perfect, it's about recognizing that every relationship is a classroom, and every person is a teacher. Jung's insight here is revolutionary because it shifts the focus from external validation to internal integration. You don't need to chase love or approval, you need to understand what your relationships are trying to teach you. This perspective flips the script on how we view conflict or attraction. Instead of asking, why are they like this, you ask, what part of me is being reflected here? This question alone can unravel years of pain or confusion. Practically, start by observing your patterns. Grab a journal and write down the traits that consistently draw you in or push you away in others. Maybe you always end up with partners who seem emotionally unavailable, or you avoid people who challenge your ideas. These patterns aren't random, they're your subconscious pointing to areas that need attention. For example, if you're constantly attracted to fixer-uppers, people you feel compelled to save, it might reflect a deeper belief that your worth comes from being needed. Recognizing this can be a game changer. This approach requires brutal honesty, but it's not about self-criticism. It's about seeing yourself clearly, without judgment, and realizing that the people in your life are mirrors reflecting both your wounds and your potential. By understanding this, you take the first step toward transforming not just your relationships, but your entire sense of self. The concept of the shadow is at the heart of Jung's teachings, and it's where the real work of self-discovery begins. Your shadow isn't just the bad parts of you, your anger, jealousy, or insecurities. It's also the parts you've hidden away because they felt too big, too vulnerable, or too unacceptable. Maybe you've suppressed your ambition because you were taught it's selfish, or you've buried your sensitivity because you feared being seen as weak. These rejected pieces don't disappear, they show up in your relationships, often in ways that sabotage your happiness. Let's get personal for a moment. I remember a time when I couldn't stand people who seemed overly assertive. Their confidence felt like arrogance, and it drove me up the wall. But when I dug deeper, I realized I was envious. I wanted to express that kind of boldness but was terrified of being judged. My irritation was a mirror reflecting my own unclaimed power. This is what Jung meant by integrating the shadow, not eliminating these traits, but owning them, understanding them, and finding healthy ways to express them. Here's how this plays out in relationships. If you're constantly frustrated by a partner's neediness, it might point to your own unacknowledged need for support. If you're drawn to someone's charisma, it could be a sign that you've suppressed your own magnetic energy. The shadow works both ways, it hides your flaws and your gifts. Denying either creates a barrier to authentic connection. So, how do you integrate your shadow? Start with awareness. The next time you feel a strong emotional reaction, whether it's love, anger, or admiration, pause and ask, where does this trait live in me? If you're triggered by someone's criticism, maybe it's because you're overly critical of yourself. If you're obsessed with someone's creativity, perhaps there's an artist in you waiting to be unleashed. This isn't about blaming yourself, it's about being curious enough to uncover the truth. A powerful exercise is to write a letter to your shadow. Sounds strange, I know, but hear me out. In this letter, acknowledge the parts of yourself you've hidden, your fears, your desires, even the traits you're ashamed of. Thank them for trying to protect you, and express your intention to integrate them with compassion. For example, I once wrote to my inner critic, thanking it for trying to keep me safe but asking it to step aside so I could take risks. This simple act of acknowledgement can shift how you relate to yourself. Another practical step is to express your shadow in safe ways. If you've suppressed your creativity, sign up for a painting class or start journaling. If you've denied your need for connection, practice being vulnerable with a trusted friend. These small acts of courage help you reclaim the parts of yourself you've pushed away. Over time, you'll notice that the people who once triggered you lose their power, not because they've changed, but because you have. This process isn't easy. It requires facing parts of yourself you've spent years avoiding. But the reward is immense. When you integrate your shadow, you stop projecting your insecurities onto others. You stop seeking love to fill a void, because you've already filled it yourself. This is where true authenticity begins, not in becoming perfect, but in becoming whole. We've all been there, stuck in the same kind of relationship, wondering why we keep ending up with the same kind of partner. It's not bad luck or a curse, it's your subconscious at work, replaying patterns formed long ago. Jung's work, combined with modern psychology, shows us that these patterns often stem from childhood experiences. If you grew up feeling unseen or unsafe, you might seek out relationships that feel familiar, even if they're painful. The good news? You can break these cycles with awareness and intention. Let's talk about my own experience. For years, I found myself drawn to people who were emotionally distant. It felt like I was always chasing their approval, only to end up feeling rejected. When I looked back, I realized this mirrored my childhood dynamic with a parent who was often unavailable. My subconscious was seeking the familiar, even though it hurt. Recognizing this was like flipping on a light switch. It didn't fix everything overnight, but it gave me the power to choose differently. Here's the science behind it: our brains are wired for familiarity. Through repetition, we create neural pathways that make certain behaviors, like choosing unavailable partners, feel natural. Breaking these patterns requires rewiring those pathways through new experiences and conscious choices. This is where neuroplasticity comes in. Every time you choose differently, you strengthen a new neural circuit, gradually weakening the old one. Start by identifying your patterns. Look at your relationship history like a detective. Do you always end up with controlling partners? Do you lose yourself in relationships? Write down the recurring themes. For me, it was always feeling like I had to earn love. Once you see the pattern, ask, what childhood experience might this connect to? Maybe you felt you had to perform to be loved, or maybe you learned that love comes with conditions. These insights are the first step to freedom. Next, pay attention to your body. Toxic patterns often come with physical cues, anxiety in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or even a rush of excitement that feels like addiction. I used to feel a thrill when chasing someone unavailable, mistaking it for passion. Learning to recognize these signals helped me pause and choose differently. For example, when I felt that familiar pull towards someone distant, I'd ask myself, is this love, or is this my old pattern talking? Setting boundaries is crucial. If you're used to people pleasing, practice saying no in small ways. If you tend to chase unavailable people, commit to pursuing only those who show consistent interest. At first, healthy relationships might feel boring, because they lack the drama your brain is used to. That's okay. You're retraining your mind to seek connection, not chaos. Another tool is visualization. Picture yourself in a relationship that feels safe, respectful, and mutual. Imagine how it feels to be seen and valued without having to prove yourself. This mental rehearsal can help rewire your brain, making healthy connections feel more natural over time. I did this nightly for months, and it slowly shifted how I approached dating. Breaking patterns isn't a one-time fix, it's a process. There will be setbacks, moments when you slip back into old habits. That's normal. Each time you recognize the pattern and choose differently, you're carving a new path. Over time, you'll notice that the people you attract start to reflect the healthier, more integrated version of yourself. You're not just breaking patterns, you're building a new way of being. Love isn't a destination you arrive at, it's a journey of becoming. Jung's teachings remind us that relationships aren't just about feeling good, they're about growing into the fullest version of yourself. Every connection, whether it's a fleeting romance or a lifelong partnership, is a mirror showing you who you are and who you could become. When you approach love this way, every conflict, every heartbreak, becomes an opportunity to evolve. Let's get real. I used to think love was about finding the one who'd make everything perfect. Spoiler alert, that's a fantasy. The relationships that transformed me most were the messy ones. The ones that forced me to confront my insecurities, my need for control, or my fear of being alone. One breakup, in particular, was a wake-up call. I was devastated, blaming my ex for everything. But when I turned inward and asked, what is this teaching me, I realized I'd been avoiding my own fear of abandonment. That insight changed how I approached every relationship after. Here's the mindset shift: love isn't about finding someone to complete you, it's about becoming someone who can love fully. This means seeing every relationship as a classroom. When conflict arises, don't just ask, who's right? Ask, what's this teaching me about myself? Maybe your partner's criticism triggers you because it echoes your own self-doubt. Maybe your need to control stems from a fear of uncertainty. These moments are gold, they show you where to grow. Attractions are just as revealing. If you're drawn to someone's confidence, it might be a sign to cultivate your own. If you're captivated by their vulnerability, maybe it's time to embrace yours. I once fell hard for someone whose adventurous spirit felt magnetic. It wasn't just about them, it was a call to bring more adventure into my own life. Jung would say these attractions are your psyche pointing you toward unclaimed parts of yourself. Heartbreak, though painful, is one of the greatest teachers. After a relationship ends, it's tempting to vilify the other person and move on. But the real growth comes from asking, what can I learn from this? Maybe you realize you ignored red flags because you didn't trust your instincts. Maybe you clung too tightly out of fear. These lessons aren't failures, they're stepping stones to wiser, more authentic love. Mature love is about mutual growth, not perfection. It's about two people showing up as whole as they can, willing to evolve together. This doesn't mean you'll never fight or face challenges, it means you'll see those challenges as chances to deepen your understanding of yourself and each other. I've found that the happiest relationships in my life aren't the ones without conflict, but the ones where both people are committed to learning from it. Practically, try this: the next time you're in a conflict, take a breath and ask, what is this moment teaching me about myself? Write down your insights, even if they're uncomfortable. Over time, you'll start to see patterns, not just in your relationships, but in how you grow through them. This shift turns love from a source of frustration into a path of self-discovery. Here's the ultimate truth: you can't fully love others until you love yourself, not in a superficial, Instagram quote way, but in a deep, unconditional way. Jung's work shows us that self-love isn't a reward you earn, it's your natural state, buried under layers of conditioning and fear. When you peel back those layers, you stop seeking love as something external and start living it as something you are. I'll be honest. I used to roll my eyes at the idea of self-love. It sounded like fluffy nonsense. But then I hit a point where I was exhausted from chasing approval, from feeling like I wasn't enough. I started small, acknowledging my strengths, forgiving myself for mistakes, and treating myself with the kindness I'd offer a friend. It wasn't instant, but over time, I noticed a shift. I stopped needing others to validate me, and my relationships became richer because of it. Self-love means accepting all of you, your light and your shadow. It's not about pretending you're perfect, it's about embracing your humanity. When you do this, you stop projecting your insecurities onto others. You don't need a partner to fix you, because you're already whole. This doesn't mean you don't want connection, it means you approach it from a place of abundance, not lack. A transformative practice is conscious self-compassion. When you feel shame, fear, or anger, don't push it away. Sit with it. Ask, what does this emotion need from me? Maybe your fear needs reassurance, or your anger needs to be heard. I started doing this during tough moments, like when I'd beat myself up for a mistake. Instead of spiraling, I'd say, it's okay, you're human. Let's learn from this. It sounds simple, but it's profound. Another exercise is to redefine love as an action, not a feeling. Do one thing each day that shows love for yourself, whether it's taking a walk, setting a boundary, or celebrating a small win. For me, it was as simple as cooking a meal I loved or saying no to plans that drained me. These acts build a foundation of self-respect that radiates into your relationships. When you love yourself, you become a magnet for authentic connection. You stop tolerating relationships that diminish you, because you know your worth. You stop chasing people who don't see you, because you see yourself. And paradoxically, when you stop needing love, you open the door to receiving it more deeply than ever before. This journey isn't about finding love, it's about becoming it. Carl Jung's wisdom shows us that every relationship, every emotion, every moment of connection or conflict is a mirror reflecting who you are and who you can become. By embracing your shadow, breaking toxic patterns, and cultivating self-love, you transform not just your relationships, but your entire way of being. You stop searching for love outside yourself and start living it from within. As you move forward, carry this truth: you are already whole, already worthy, already love itself. The people in your life are here to help you see that, to guide you toward your fullest self. So, take the first step today. Reflect on your patterns, write to your shadow, practice self-compassion, and choose relationships that reflect your growth. The love you seek is already yours, you just need to recognize it. If this message spoke to you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to keep exploring this journey of self-discovery. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.